A conservative and a liberal walk into a bar. Shadow journaling. What happened next was quite surprising. This ain't no joke.
Try to see me there.
I'm Jamie Allman.
I'm Judi Diamond, and this is the Allman Diamond Experience.
Compromise is fair.
So the date that we are at now is what, October 5th, 2023. So when was this whole, as you call it, shit show? That was on what date?
It was on the 3rd of October.
Okay, so the 3rd of October, 2023, you texted me something, and I was paying no attention whatsoever because I was on TikTok. At the same time that I'm talking to a friend who is very, very, very liberal, and you tend to be more conservative, as if you listen to the show, you'll understand. And you both said at the same time, DC's a shit show today.
Yes.
So what happened?
Well, something very beautiful. And in fact, it is otherwise known as the following day as the October 4th of July.
Oh.
Because it was a magical day for this representative republic when a few members of the House of Harumphers, as I call them, ousted Kevin McCarthy because Kevin McCarthy decided he was going to have everybody take a 6-week vacation, a recess, during the funding proposals for the government, and then came back and said, oh, we have an emergency. We're going to have to close down all the war memorials now. We better pass this continuing resolution and this omnibus bill and spending bill and get Ukraine in there and everything else.
Jamie's getting red in the face right now.
And people like Matt Gaetz and those guys said, not so fast. First of all, don't accuse me of paralyzing the government and the House of Representatives when you took a 6-week vacation, everybody did, during the time that we were passing or needing to pass all these funding bills separately. And now you guys want to pass them all together because you don't want to be accountable. We're tired of kicking the can down the road. He said, I am going to motion to vacate the House speakership. And he did it, and he absolutely won, which is crazy. I mean, it was. I didn't even expect it. So at that point, Kevin McCarthy, as Speaker of the House, was ousted by a handful of Republicans who decided they had enough of the shenanigans.
Is he
great.
A Republican or a Democrat?
He's a Republican.
Okay, wait. We got to go back, and you have to answer a few questions for me first, because you teach me a lot about politics. I am of a different mindset. So I have to ask you one question. So you said something, are you talking about the House of Senate? You said something funny.
House of Representatives.
Okay,
the House of Harumphers, as they're calling you now.
So they're the House of Representatives. So the House of Representatives are the people that we vote on, right?
Yes.
Okay.
There are 435 of them representing 435 districts in the country.
Okay, but hold on. So then who's this Gaetz guy? Is he also part of that?
Matt Gaetz is a representative from Florida.
Is he any relation to Bill Gates?
No.
Had to ask.
It's Gaetz.
Okay. Mm-hmm. So my question, and call me dumb, call me whatever, ignorant, I don't know. I was on TikTok, and there's a reason I'm saying this.
Yes.
And if we vote for a guy, shouldn't we be able to vote him out and not have just them? How is that okay?
Well, they're representatives.
Okay.
That's what a representative republic is, when you have people who you elect to represent you.
But I didn't vote for those other people.
It doesn't matter. You mean you didn't vote for who? Kevin McCarthy?
What are the other? Let's say I'm in the place that voted for him.
Yeah.
We don't vote for all of those guys, right?
No. You have your elected representative.
But still, Jamie, that doesn't make sense. Think about it. As a collective, right? So I have my one guy. Let's say I voted, did or didn't. It doesn't matter. But then all these other people are now, what if I didn't vote for any of them because I can't be in that area?
Right. But the House
not fair.
But the House of Representatives.
What? It's not fair.
But the House of Representatives is not a collective.
But it should be.
If it were a collective.
But we voted for them.
No. If it were a collective, it would be a majority rule country, and we're a representative republic.
Well.
And so you can't have a representative republic and have a collective at the same time. You have a collective of representatives.
I disagree.
But they represent each district differently.
Here's how I disagree. Just go to TikTok. There's your collective of over 1-point-something billion people.
Yes.
That are collectively talking about one thing.
Yeah.
One thing. They get to vote. They get to say what they feel. And it could be on any social media, just because it's TikTok.
Right.
So why can't America be run like a social media where we can vote on everything?
Because then you be Venezuela. I mean, you have to. We're a representative republic. We're actually not a democracy. Everybody calls us a democracy. We're really not. We're a representative republic.
Well, but they're
which means
not
we
representing. If I did, I don't even know what state that guy's in. So
he's from Florida.
Okay, if I was in Florida, let's say I voted for him.
Yeah.
And I could agree with everything, but I still think that to be ousted, like the whole thing with the president being like ousted, should we all as the public vote for that?
Well, here's on the one hand, like Kevin McCarthy's from California. He's the House Speaker. And actually in
so wait,
the
you
United
can be
States of
in
America.
That and be the House Speaker.
Actually, you know what? You can be House Speaker.
Well, I should be. In my house, I'm the Speaker.
You actually don't have to be a member of Congress to be the Speaker of the House.
Well, they need somebody that knows how to like talk some sense.
Right. Well, he should have acted on talking some sense, and he didn't do it, which is why he was ousted.
I have to listen because I don't know what he said.
And that's what happens. Well, here's the problem. This happens every year, Judi, and to your point, and we'll get to that about people on TikTok who I totally respect, and they probably don't care at all what's going on in D.C., and I don't really necessarily blame them, considering what a crazy place it is, where all these people who are funded by lobbyists and special interests and political action committees,
and none of them are my interests,
all just rubber stamp everything because they're getting paid to do it because they're prostitutes for the big money interests, and they don't actually do what I think Matt Gaetz wanted them to do, which was let's vote on every spending proposal separately so we're all on the record. Let's not push everything into one big bill and hide everything, including Ukraine funding, all that stuff, hide everything. Let's get everybody on the record. But what happens is this happens every year.
And now, by the way, this is regardless of Democrat or Republican, right? Okay.
They go on a 6-week recess during the summertime. They come back right around now and they declare an emergency. We got to pass this budget. We got to do this now. We got to do this fast. We got to make sure this happens now, or we're going to close war memorials and people aren't going to get paid. It's like, well, why was it not important to you for 6 weeks during the summertime?
Because they were at Camp Pendleton.
Who
isn't that where they go or something?
Who gets a 6-week vacation anywhere ever anyway? If we get a 3-week vacation,
well, teachers get the summer off, but teachers are still working and they're not getting paid.
Exactly. And I mean, so I mean, that's not really.
Maybe the teachers should come in when they're on their 6 weeks off, and maybe then we'd have somewhere to go.
Actually, that might actually work.
I know.
That might work, but
I'd pay for the teachers.
So that's what happened. Is these guys got sick of it and said, "We're not playing your game anymore," and they ousted him. They took him out.
So. Okay, the reason, and there's more of this that I actually am aware of. I'm asking as the average American, the average young American. Because I do know more than I maybe let on in that last, But the reason I said it that way is because I'm just new learning things like this. Mm-hmm. And this segues into the Gen Zs, the young, who I absolutely adore on TikTok. And when we just had this conversation, and very real for me, because it wasn't, you took a little bit on what you're feeling on, which you should have. You should definitely be judgmental. As a person, always be judgmental on what you believe in. And you did. You were talking about at the beginning, but then later on you explained in everyday terms something that I could understand and could fathom and get. This is not something that we, as Americans, get from politicians. I don't understand 90% of it.
Yeah.
And I do realize that when you explain, sometimes you will maybe come from your angle.
Yeah.
But then you always come back and say, but the other side is saying da-da-da-da-da-da.
Well, these are the people who think that these people who were opposed to the continuing resolution and kicking the can down the road and not having separate bills to talk about or to vote on, those people are being accused of mucking up the process and, getting in the way of progress and all this stuff. And it's too...
It's convoluted.
It's too much, yes.
It's convoluted, like all of politics.
Yes, and all the Democrats, of course, voted to oust her out Kevin McCarthy. That's okay. Even if a handful of Republicans voted with the Democrats, the reality is Democrats should be watching this process and seeing how the Republican Party as conservatives are actually growing. It's kind of like the person eating a Big Mac watching somebody walk into a gym. Like,
well,
they know.
I was surprised because I tend to. I lean liberal, but that doesn't mean I vote. It depends on who the candidate is. And when I kind of learned a little bit more about him, I went, well, he's a Republican who has a lot of. He's not a true Republican, from what I was told, not by you. Somebody else was telling me.
Which one?
The one who was ousted.
Oh yeah, right.
That real Republicans, they're or as they call it, he's not a true Republican. This is what Reagan was. Was he a true Republican?
Reagan was a true conservative. He wasn't as much a Republican as he was a conservative.
Yet he was popular.
And which is why, as a Republican, he could give amnesty to illegals and still be a Republican. But he was more conservative, in my opinion, at the time.
Right. But you take this guy. Why would, as a Democrat, if you're a registered Democrat, wouldn't you want him in if he leans toward? Yeah. I mean, because then you're going to have more of that vote instead of getting a new Republican.
He's not a Democrat, and the Democrats just wanted him out because they love the chaos. But here's the thing, though: the one thing I did love about the whole thing is that I go back, like, I'm a person who thinks that these people ought to be fist fighting and challenging each other to duels.
You're like the Renaissance era.
Well, I'm actually going back to what the founding father, back in the day, 100
Without
years
the founding mothers, I say that.
100 plus years ago, these guys were hitting each other with canes in the House of Representatives.
And we were all laughing, the women, going, you guys.
I know. But that's the kind of raucousness that I love about a representative republic and liberty. And liberty's never going to be clean. It's never going to be easy. It should never be rubber stamped. And the process should always be very clean. It hasn't been clean. They got rid of Kevin McCarthy and created a level of chaos that I think is good. Chaos creates growth.
Chaos created the world.
Yes.
The Big Bang Theory is chaos.
That's a beautiful, wonderful, amazing point.
And
yes.
It's true.
Mm-hmm. It's totally true.
But there's also something to be said about, and I'm going to go back to, because we will talk about the shadow, because it's a new word based on something very old, like from a long time ago, of the simplicity of we make things more complicated too. So I think Congress, Washington, D.C., it complicates things. Yes, things are, yes, there are times when you have to have war. I do believe that. But I don't think we have to always have chaos. There's a calm among chaos you can find.
When you are, it complicates
Does that make
things.
sense?
Yes, it complicates things when you are a politician who exists solely as a person taking money from special interests, political action committees, and lobbyists
just to get voted again.
Yes,
right?
and so you're never, and you become speaker because you got a bunch of money, raised a bunch of money, then paid a bunch of people in their campaigns.
Now, do you believe
to
this
get you as speaker,
regardless of whether the party is?
Yes.
Okay.
Absolutely.
I like
It's a corrupt system.
It is.
And it's not reflective of what the founding fathers designed. You realize that the founding fathers, with the mothers, they created the Senate specifically to create chaos.
Okay, but
the Senate's there
Jamie,
to
you can't live in that time, though.
Well, no. Yes, you can.
How?
Because it's checks and balances. And a government cannot exist without adequate checks and balances. So when the founding fathers constructed this representative republic, they had the judicial branch, they had the executive branch, they had the legislative branch, and the legislative branch is divided by the House and Senate. At one point, there was only the House that made up the legislative branch. There was the executive branch and the judicial branch. The founding fathers said, we didn't trust the system even then. They were like, there's got to be something else that kind of is going to get in the way.
The collective.
So they invented the Senate. They came up with the Senate, and the Senate is an obstructive body. The Senate's there to keep the House and the executive branch from running roughshod over governance. And so the Senate's always there to stop things, and it's always there to kind of get in the way. And it's by prescription. It's purposely there.
As we talked about before, 2 parties isn't enough.
No, you're right.
Then if there were more parties, maybe I would feel more of the collective of the United States of America could actually have a say a little bit more than one time, twice they vote for one person.
Well, can I ask you, though, something, because you advocate for multiple parties. How is that a collective when you have multiple parties?
Well, it's not.
Okay.
I'm trying to compromise. I'm trying to compromise somehow.
Yeah.
To be happy because look, when it all comes down to it, I mean, we're so divided, and I think the most important thing is for us to get united. The only way we could do that is to have a say so all the time. Like, I mean, if a president can be ousted without the voters voting on that, you know what I'm saying?
Well,
like, I think that's crazy.
I agree with you. Like, for instance, on
and this is all cross-party.
On impeachment, I wasn't for the Clinton impeachment, or on the ouster of Governor Greitens.
We should have
I think that at that point, I think it ought to be up to the voters and not representatives.
Right.
I totally agree with that. And I think, but when it comes to things like this, though, you're talking about a legislative body
how many years do they have? I'm sorry to interrupt, because this is going to base my next questions. How many years are they in the Senate? Is it 4 like the president?
6 years.
So 6 years. Okay, so Jamie, 6 years. You've got now 18-year-olds that 6 years ago weren't 18 to vote.
Yes.
So you got these young voters, okay? They want to know what to do. They maybe all this, and we have a huge Gen Z is a huge generation.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Huge.
Yeah.
So the young Gen Zers that are now starting to get these guys they didn't vote for. They don't have a say until I mean they're in there.
Well,
why shouldn't they have a say?
Well, I mean, I'm sorry they were 16 when they.
Well, that's crazy.
But well, I know, but ultimately, like I think that the young people, as you've noticed, are a little bit checked out on the adult world, and rightly so.
Absolutely.
They see things like this going on in D.C., and I think it's a good thing, but they don't really understand it. They just see people fighting, and they think it's a crap show and all that kind of stuff. But the reality is it's really a republic that is in a state of
flux,
fissure and flux and chaos, which I think is a good thing.
We do need chaos. I agree.
It's too bad that most people don't understand the construct of the government and why actually the whole ouster of I heard one news anchor asking, well, is this going to happen all the time now? I'm like, I hope so.
Right.
I hope so for the sake of our republic that the Democrats do it too. They ought to be running people out. Yeah. Nancy Pelosi should have been out of there a long time ago. She didn't serve the Democrats very well. But in the end, they all go along to get along. As Matt Gaetz pointed out, I loved his quote. He's a very good orator. And that all these politicians, they all booed him when he talked about how you guys taking money from special interests in the PACs. You guys go and collect your checks. I'm not going to apologize for me asking a teacher for $25. I don't take money from political action committees. I don't take money from special interests or lobbyists. You guys do. They all harump. Oh, no. He goes, boo all you want. But here's what you did. You came to Washington, D.C., and you hollowed out this town, which I was with a great word, because they hollowed out the town, made it their own, and sold the rest of the country down the river, including the Gen Zers, who are going to have their economic futures tied to our rampant, crazy spending.
Well, and this is, and again, this is. So as you're listening, and your young generation, I hope you do. This is just your opinion. I think you're very smart. I think what you're saying is your fact. Listen to it, take it, absorb it, and then listen to other people.
Yeah.
Listen to other people. Because I think what you're saying is brilliant, but there's also people that say something opposite. So I guess what I'm getting at is they tune out instead of listen hard.
Yeah.
And so when I look at what's trending bigger than all this shit show, as you said, in D.C., was by far TikTok, the Gen Z, was all about what they call shadow work. Now, this started a couple of years ago, actually, but now the girl who started at 24 years old put it out in a book. It's the best-selling book on Amazon, beating out Oprah, 24 years old. And all it is it's based on Carl Jung. It's a new wave. It's basically what the new age is from the 80s, what it was in the 60s. And it's just a new name for getting conscious and being responsible for yourself, which is so incredible. And I found a quote somewhere, not from Jung, it was from somebody I listened to, I'll have to remember. And the quote was, because it's all about, instead of blaming somebody else, you're taking your soul and your life in your own hands, being responsible for it all, and then being a collective and loving all, bringing us into one, okay? They're ignoring DC and doing this as a young generation, which I'm like, yes. And it's this. You look in the mirror. There's not a smiling face until you smile. Mm-hmm. Think about that.
Yeah.
It's deep.
Yeah.
Simplistic and deep. Now, after this has been trending, because of course humans love to build up and break down, now we've got people saying, this is a demonic thing.
Oh, yeah.
So just listen, and I don't know how, and I think the way that you're so eloquent with your words, I love listening to you explain.
Yeah.
I just always want to say that I might say something as my opinion, it might be yours.
Oh, yeah.
Always take everything from everybody.
Well, and keep in mind, too,
all.
I will tell you that among people, conservatives on the radio, I was a minority.
Oh, I believe it. No.
On this matter.
That's why I love doing this show with you. I'm a lot of times my friends get mad at me because I'm not liberal enough. I'm not a Democrat. I'm not a Democrat. I'm a human. And so that's why we hold this whole thing.
I was raked over the coals by people for thinking this was a good thing. But I'm a libertarian constitutionalist. I'm not a Republican. And so I love this kind of stuff.
And yet when I say, well, Jamie, I'm love and human, you go, well, that's fantastic.
Yeah.
And so this is the kind of thing. So if you're Gen Z, I mean, people can talk this way. It doesn't matter what age you are.
Right.
Does that make sense?
And also to your point about people just writing the shadow world thing off as demonic. These people need to ask themselves, why is it that these young people are focusing on this?
Right.
And it's not their fault that they're not listening to you.
Right.
It's not their fault that they're not plugged into everything Kevin McCarthy and Matt Gaetz and the Democrat and Republicans are doing. The adults, from going back, my goodness, decades, but also, most recently with COVID and all the things that adults have done to children, it's no wonder you've got a whole generation of young people who don't trust adults.
Yeah.
They just do not trust adults.
And what they're doing is they're doing what needs to be done. All humans of all generations is they need to work on their inside and trust themselves.
Right.
Because you get back what you put out. You put out anger, you put out fear, that's what you get back. You put out war, you get back. You put out love.
Yeah.
And I mean, this, to me, I'm thrilled about it. And I want to add something to this because I'm bringing, Gen Z. And I watch TikTok like crazy. I love it. And I see all these Gen Xers saying Gen Millennials suck, Gen Boomers suck, Gen Z, whatever. I want to remind anybody who's listening of any generation, the people that created the word boomers were the madmen of New York City.
Yeah.
They're just trying to sell you shit. Because guess what? We're just humans.
Yeah.
You are not labeled X. You're just...
Yeah.
You're anything. I mean, and yet you're all. Does that make sense?
Yep. And it's funny how...
Just remember that.
It's funny how people are like... people who go and collect checks from the Chamber of Commerce, every other month, don't understand why young people aren't listening to them. Yeah. It's like, come on. Young people are not engaged. I mean, listen, young people are now, I think, joining you and me.
Yeah, they skipped the generation.
Element where we have been skipped over, not engaged by the politicians. They go right from election to fundraiser, election to fundraiser. They don't stop in the middle there. No. They're not talking to the people. They don't care really about we're peasants to them.
Yeah. I think that's what I love. That's what I like about you and what you do is that you are unique. Your show is not yelling off. Well, you might get mad. I mean, I'm sure.
But
you should
get fiery a little bit.
That's the
but
thing. It's okay to get mad. You don't always have to be so.
Yeah.
I'm gonna, meditate. Get mad.
I lighten up a little bit.
It's a level of energy. Yeah. Fred Dotson, great book, great author, by the way.
It helps when you come in and adjust the thermostat. It lightens things up a little bit. Yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry.
No, I'm just saying. I mean, it's that kind of thing. And
here, I thought I was so hot.
My show Well, I mean, I'm hoping young people listen to it because I'm not going to toe the party line. And again, I had a couple people who I interviewed. Stacey Washington was one of them. She's one of my favorites. I have her on. But she and I talked today about, and she's got a show on XM Satellite. And I'm like, we were two people probably in a field of about 30 conservative, so-called conservative radio people who were on the side of Matt Gaetz on this one.
Wow.
I mean, the rest of the people were like, you're obstructing, you're doing this. Because they're all tied into the establishment, money structure, all that stuff.
So is it just one quick question? Because this I don't know. There's a lot of this I do know, going back to school. But again, I'm like a kid. I tune it out because it doesn't affect me.
Yeah.
And that's a bad thing to think, I know. But it's just all these years of it not affecting me and me voting and it not, This is why I think it's important to inform people. And, who then is it up to, since it's a Republican that was ousted, that we had nothing to do with, that's whatever they vote on or whatever, does another Republican replace them?
Yep. Yeah.
And we don't vote on that? Or the state that he's from? How does that work?
Well, here's what happens is the Republicans have a majority in the House of Representatives right now.
Right. I know that.
So
by one or two or something?
So by 5, I think.
Oh, wow.
It's 5. So
the majority has the say.
When you say we don't vote on it, that's why we have representatives. We're a representative form of government. So, no, you do not vote on it. Your representative does, whoever that is.
Yeah.
And I think, and so ultimately, the Republicans are going to have another Republican House Speaker.
Right.
And if they don't, you could have a Democrat House Speaker.
What state is it? Oh, it's Florida. That's right.
Didn't
you say?
Matt Gaetz is from Florida, but
the guy who was ousted could be from anywhere?
From California. No, it could be. Like I said, you can be the House Speaker. Donald Trump could be the House Speaker.
Just don't put Newsom in. Anybody who votes.
Gavin Newsom.
And here's a liberal, me saying, "Oh my God!" And I don't live in California anymore.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
Yeah.
That's just me.
But
judging on you.
That's what
you voted for.
Yeah, and that's what's amazing and kind of alternatively confounding about the founding fathers is that they said that the House Speaker, it's constitutionally, it's dictated right there in the Constitution. The House Speaker does not have to be an elected representative.
Crazy. Well, it's like the FBI. We don't vote for the FBI.
No.
How weird is that? So the FBI comes in. I don't know if you remember, we do this show, we recorded in St. Louis a few years back. All of a sudden, the Cardinals were being investigated. Who investigates the FBI?
Yeah.
And it was false.
Yeah.
They didn't have to be.
Yeah.
Nobody ever checks up on them.
Yeah.
Well, I'd like to vote on them.
Well, and then some people complain, well, we don't elect the Supreme Court. And
again,
if you but see, we kind of do because we elect presidents who appoint Supreme Court
and we
justices.
need to make them not lifeline, like life term. Come on.
Well, I mean, I'm not opposed to that part of it. Not
4
at all.
years out. Come on.
Well, here's the thing, though. You do get. I mean, term limits are tricky. In Missouri, term limits have created an atmosphere where you don't have politicians who have been there long enough because they can't stay long enough to actually get any kind of experience. It's a double-edged sword. So what you have in Missouri, for instance, is a term limit situation where eventually only the lobbyists and the bureaucrats actually write the bills because the politicians aren't there long enough to make things to have experience. So you're serving 6 years and you're gone. You're serving 4 years or you're gone. And so a lot of times what happens is then you have bureaucrats and lobbyists running the show.
Oh, that's not good.
So
we know that's not good.
Yeah, so it's kind of a double-edged sword. The term limit thing is I think it's good. I mean, there's no reason why. I mean, look at all the representatives who go up there, the House members and Senate members. They go up there and they never leave.
Right.
They have to die to be carried out of there, and they become rich.
Off our taxes.
How do you become rich being an elected representative, making $174,000? How do you become a millionaire? Like pretty much, 50% of them do.
Well, and I just thought of something because, again, I always talk about TikTok, but Eminem was on TikTok and he was talking, and I just thought about this because a lot of what we learned, we were talking about this off mic, was through music.
Yeah.
And he was going off on people that, and again, I'm not somebody who voted for former President Donald Trump, and I wouldn't want him as the president. I don't want anybody that's up there right now. But he went off on a whole thing on why he doesn't understand people that are, vote for Trump. Instead, he's such a talented rapper, writer, lyricist. If Eminem would put that energy into making more of, like I'm just a bill, or take your music. Kendrick Lamar, make some lyrics. Now I know Kendrick Lamar is amazing.
Yeah,
he writes history in his songs. But how about if you take?
So is Drake.
Yeah. I'm not a Drake fan, but that's okay. He's got a lot of fans. Sorry. But if one of these, we need that now so that I can listen and understand, because there's so many laws that I don't get. Even music is very helpful for that. Yeah.
And you mentioned rapper versus rapist. Is there a reason? This is probably why they don't call them rapists.
I didn't know there was. I've never heard of the word rapist. I'm
like
old,
a pianist.
So I don't know.
Trombonist.
That's a good question.
Or an artist.
Wouldn't the first
But then they had rapper, because I think rapist probably didn't sound very good.
But the first rapper was like jazz, original jazz.
Right.
Yeah, which I love.
Yeah.
But I just keep saying and I said I was going to stop doing it.
It's okay, I did too.
Okay, okay. So,
it's all right.
It's okay. We broadcast for a living. I just think we're going to have to do a second part, because we're coming up on 30, and I don't want to bore people. I want to talk about the demonic of what people are now saying.
Yeah, that's bull crap, because everybody, it's so easy to say that. It's kind of like calling somebody racist. It's like calling something demonic just because you think it's something because it's countercultural or whatever, is such an unfair and cheap cheaply anti-intellectual approach to something that you don't understand.
I totally agree with you.
So people will always do that, and it's
And I also want to say thank you, because this is your realm. I do shows that have music. I don't do politics. And so I come to you asking questions, and I'm not afraid to sound stupid.
And you never do.
And I don't care. If I sound dumb and somebody says, hey, she's an idiot, I really don't care.
Yeah.
Because I think that whole thing of being afraid to ask a question, don't ever be afraid to say, I don't know.
Oh, believe me, there are Republicans and conservatives who listen to me and they think I sound dumb. So it's fine.
Oh, no. You're very, very wise, and I am able to listen and understand. Okay, so that's how that works. I may not agree with it.
Yeah.
But okay, that's how it works.
Yeah.
And explain the system. Does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely.
Which is what we talked about. I told you, do homework. Let's do this. We don't have to, because you've already got it in your head.
No.
So thank you.
And I wasn't being dismissive of your view about collectivism,
I didn't feel you were
it's
being
not
dismissive.
Really the construct, so it's never going to happen.
And
that
maybe,
way.
and I didn't feel you were being dismissive, and it's okay if you were. It doesn't bother me. And maybe, because I think that's a great thing to say, because in my head, then I go, okay, well, maybe it's time we rebuild.
Well, I'll give you...
Construct is what?
Right.
What does it mean, you build?
And I'll give you one on this one, too, because of the collective part. So Hillary Clinton, in my mind, was right about one thing her entire life.
You really are not. You didn't like Miss Clinton.
Well, so once she pulled the deplorable thing, I was out completely. I was never there, but
you'll have to listen to Jamie's show. We'll do it.
But she said it takes a village. And I'm not quite sure she said that, right?
That's an old
I think
thing.
you told me. Yeah. But that is, I think when you talk about the collective, because believe me, when you talk about the collective, that triggers a lot of people, because that's triggering the Ayn Rand people of the world.
Which drives me crazy, because what other word got into politics? Which, in my being somebody who believes in a higher consciousness timeline and try to live of love and all that, the word woke is about being woke as yourself, and now it's in politics. So I get what you're saying.
Well, people hear the word collectivism. I hear communism,
and I don't. I know. I don't hear collectivism. I hear as one.
Yes,
we are one. Not just every speck of grain of sand.
Right, and unfortunately, because we're a country that's so diverse, and I'm not saying it's unfortunate we're diverse, but you cannot have that. You have to have the form of representative government that we have in order to have all the voices heard.
Oh, you're still heard if you become...
So it's a collective in its sense, but it's a collective representation.
Again...
It's a representative collective.
It can be.
Yeah.
I think things are changing. I think the world is changing. We're starting a whole new age I'm excited even to be alive in.
Yeah.
To let alone... And by the way, if you are younger generation... It might feel like we're putting a lot on your shoulders. Don't think of it as a heavy burden. Think of it as, wow, you're going to create a whole new world.
Yeah.
Because I'm so excited about the future. Our kids, your kids, are creating a world that could be incredible.
Yeah.
Could be.
Just don't check out.
No, exactly.
That's the important part.
That's why we do what we do.
Stay with the shadow world thing, but don't make that
your only thing.
Your cave.
Right.
Make it your springboard.
That's beautiful.
Yeah. Really well said. Yeah.
And you know what? Like you said, people might not like you. Wow, that's great. Like you said, you're not in your one pigeonholed cave.
Yeah.
In what you do, which makes you unique and different.
Yeah.
And man, that's a beautiful thing.
Yeah. We all tend to do that. It's human nature to pop into your own little place, but...
And the world is already in us, and we're already part of it. And so, again, I'm so excited to even be alive in this time, and to be able to see, and talk about different things, and being open and seeing that we're just humans.
Yeah.
Listen to each other.
We're gonna get there.
Yep.
It's all good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I feel good about it.
We still smile.
What's there not to smile about?
I know.
We're not going anywhere. Even if the world blew up, we still exist.
I know.
That's a whole nother realm. But
I can't wait to hear more about that one.
And in the meantime, if you check out some of what's being said, I'm very curious of comments because there are people that are really into the whole shadow work, which I think is fantastic. And there are people that are talking about it. And just go read some stuff that's old. Raymond D. Moody started back in the 70s. I went to a used bookstore and found his stuff on subconsciousness and that kind of thing. Look up Fred Dotson. He's amazing. Been doing this since late 1990s.
Yeah.
It's the same thing. It's a beautiful thing, just a different name.
Yeah. I love it. Educational.
And
I learned something from you every day, Judi.
Well, same.
I do.
All right. Love you, people.
It's the Allman Diamond Experience.
Thank you for being a part of the Allman Diamond Experience. Got something to say? Leave your thoughts in the comment section. And if you'd like to cultivate more Allman Diamond Experience, and we hope you do, please subscribe and tell your friends.
Hold on a minute before you close the door. Excuse my honesty, I'm probably a comedy, but it would be a tragedy if I never spoke this soliloquy. We could paint my bedroom with the color of your smile.